Christ, when we read about him or you see real movies about him, he made it clear with words that it's not me. It's my Father that sent me. The same thing as I do, you do. Greater is he that's in me is in you. And he made it clear that my Father and I, Daddy and I, are one. Daddy and I are one. But the message was life-giving message. And they had never heard that kind of message before. And because they lived in their imagination, because all human beings live in their thoughts. There's not one that doesn't. Some overcome it, but most don't. And in the thoughts, which are the devil, you have no idea how deep, how evil the imagination is. And it runs much deeper. And if you stay on this, you'll start to see it and overcome it. But the imagination is wicked, and it is, which is the devil, pretending to be God. It really is. It's pretending to be God. And everything God does, it does it. But it's just a fake imitation. It's wicked. And if you're lost in your imagination, you believe in it. And once you believe in it, you become worldly. And so you start to look to people, places, and things for something, for approval, to make you feel like you're equal to them or somebody, to make you feel like you're all right, or make you feel like you need to do this or do that. You look for emotions, as you were saying, you look for emotions from somebody. When I was into a lot of women, I wanted that mama's love. Didn't even know it, but I wanted mama's love. And when they wanted to take it away, it felt like death, like I was losing my soul. Either I'm going to beat them up and make them stay and they're going to love me, or I had to find another one. And I was idolizing and didn't know it. As most people say, you just didn't know it. That's why I felt like I lost God, right? And so when Christ came, because the people were in their imagination, they couldn't separate the man from the message. Had they just sat there and heard the message and let the message enter into them, they would have never idolized the man. They would have believed in the message. And they would never have idolized Christ, right? But they couldn't separate it because something was missing in them, and they thought that they could get it from him. And so they missed it. And likewise, human beings do that with one another too. Entertainers, doctors and lawyers and psychiatrists and somebody that has money. And you can meet someone who has a lot of money and you'll ask them, well, how did you get all that money? And they'll tell you how they got it, and you'll go out and try to do the same thing, get that money. And then it doesn't work for you, and then you'll get mad at the person that told you how to make the money because they made the money, but you didn't make it. Instead of looking at, well, what was wrong with me that I just took on what they tried to do and become the same way? The mind, which is the devil, is the one that causes you to idolize someone because you want something from that person. And so you create a false image of that person. Like they did with Christ. They created a false image. In their mind, which is of the devil, they made him God. And so they missed the message. And so when the world turned on Christ, they turned too. Oh, I didn't know he was a Jew. Kill the Jew. And the people that followed him was willing to kill the Jew. They had worshiped the Jew, they had praised him, they were thanking God for him, they were pretending to be healed by him. But as soon as they found out somebody said something about him, they all turned on him. Oh, he's a Pharisee, or he's something. He healed on Sabbath day. No, he did. I can't believe he did that. And they followed the man. Because in their mind, they wanted something else other than what he was giving them, and that was the truth. They had idolized them, and then when they falsely accused him or true accused him, they turned on him too, because now this reality set in that this is a human being too. This human being is just like me. This human being, Christ had to pray to the Father. Just like he tells us to go and let the Father's will be done. I got to go off. They wanted to play with him a lot. He was like, I got to go off and see what my Father's will is. I'll be back. And he would go off and pray. And they still made him God in their own imagination. And they turned, look what Judas did to him. He turned on it after making him, and Judas went looking for God. He wanted to meet this man he had heard about. Something in him told this man had a message of freedom, a message of salvation. And he was like, I've been hearing about this guy. I want to meet him. And he went and met him and then loved him, which wasn't love, but he was getting a false identity from him. And then when they told him to turn, he turned for a dollar bill. And that's what human beings do to one another. But if you were to overcome yourself and then be in the world but not of it, it doesn't matter what someone else did or do. You would just pray for that person and you would hold on to the truth, but you would not hold on to anything against the person. But you would blame the person that you made them an idol, not knowing that the devil that you worship made them an idol in your mind. It's just a person. And the person said, hey, I'm just human. But the message with me, I'll bring you a message. But it's just me. But you'll do it anyway because you're not aware of the devil and his tricks. And then you blame the other person about it. Isn't that amazing? The devil will not let you look at you to see what you did, what caused you to believe it. You blame the other. The devil said, look, they thought they were better than you. But that was you thinking that. The other person didn't think that. You thought that. Instead of looking at the mind. That's why you got to overcome the thoughts. All thoughts are all lies all the time about anything. And the last thing the thought wants is to die. They don't want you to see them. They don't want it. And when you start to wake up to it, but you got to forgive first, though. I got to tell you that. You must see that you're wrong for hating. But as little kids, we couldn't help it. We were subject to our parents, right? So we couldn't help it. But when you become old, that's when you start seeking the Father for yourself and see that you're wrong for hating by knowing yourself. And once you go and forgive, the light comes on. And then the light starts to grow. A little light comes on, and it starts to grow. As long as you keep your eyes on that light, you will start to discover and overcome. And the ego nature does not want to die. That's why the ego, which is the devil, tell the experts to tell you that's who you are. Fight for who you are. And make the world accept who you are. We're not supposed to hate them, but we're not supposed to accept it either. Just like you're not supposed to accept the evil within yourself. And you're not supposed to fight with the evil. You're not supposed to fight with the devil within you and the devil outside of you and others. Never, ever, ever, ever fight. There was a guy called my show, and I always say, not always, but I say that I'm white on the inside and black on the outside. And he called my show, you said you feel white on the inside. I said, I never said I feel white. Where you get that from? I'm like, what does feeling white feel like? When you said you feel white, no, I didn't. Where'd you get that from? He got that from the darkness of his imagination. And he got so tired up, he's like, oh, okay, wait, I got to call you back. I got to get this right. And I never said it. And that's what human beings do to one another too. Because you think it, you think that somebody else think it. And then you yell at that person for thinking what you think that they're thinking, but they're not even thinking it. It's you thinking it. You're thinking bad about me. Anybody ever thought of somebody thinking negative about you? Yeah. But it wasn't them thinking that, and even if they were thinking that, it's not about what they think about you, it's what you think that they think about you. Everything with us, it really is. Because if you didn't think what they thought about you, it wouldn't even bother you. But you think what they're thinking. And they could be thinking whatever. Most of the time, they're not even thinking anything. They have their own problem, right? But you'll think that. I know people that, I'm constantly with people that can't even walk across the road, and if the car stop and they look over at the person in the car, the devil tell them, oh, they thinking that you ugly. And they have to go back on the other side of the road because they're paralyzed by thinking what the person in the car think about them. And they were thinking that. And they'll blame the other person for thinking it. And the person like, I wasn't thinking that. You know, like, think about that. It's with us. It's not with anyone else. All our issues began with us and ends with us. And as you're overcoming the farthest day, it's ending. And you will get to a point what someone else think wouldn't even occur to you. It wouldn't even occur to you. It wouldn't even occur to you if they're thinking good or bad about you. It wouldn't occur to you what they're thinking. So just think about that. When you think about what somebody's thinking about you, it's you thinking about that. And the devil tell you they are thinking that, and they're not. And even the word wouldn't matter anyway, but they're not thinking that. And if they were thinking that, like I just said, if you didn't think about what they thought, you wouldn't have a problem. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Just think about that. And that's what happened with Christ. Christ was so amazing. He never thought about what someone else thought about him. And they thought all kinds of things about him. He never thought about. I remember there was a time when the disciples went out and they came back. They went out spreading the word, and they came back and they were telling Christ, oh, they were saying this about you. They were saying that about how wonderful you are, you God. And he was like, well, what do you think about me? What did you think? What did you say? Or something like that. He didn't ask, well, how did you respond to them? What did they say? He didn't care about that. And he wanted to make sure they could see for themselves that he was the son, but he had a message from daddy. He wasn't daddy. And then I was looking at one of the old religious movies with a clip from it. Who was that guy that went up to it and started burning bush?
Moses.
Who?
Moses.
Oh, Moses. Dude, the preacher's supposed to already know that, right? It was Moses. And Moses went up, and when he came back, he saw God up there. What I do want to add, the same burning bush that he saw up there is in us. It really is. The fire, the light is in us. Moses said that God, something like, I'm paraphrasing, he has written the word on our hearts and in our minds. It's written, it's in us already, but you got to look there for it and be willing to let everything go that you've been taught. Do not hold on to the intellect. The intellect is evil. The intellect will gather knowledge and make you think you know God and you don't. It will make you think you're better and you're not. It will make you think that people are looking down on you and it would matter to you. Or that someone is trying to make you feel good. It would matter to you. It would tell you that you're wonderful. But if you let it go, you will have no idea about anything, and that's the way to live. The word is written in our hearts. It's in us. It's in our mind. We have the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit, to teach us. And Christ was telling us that. The New Testament is all about that. You can read the book. It's okay. Nothing wrong with reading, but don't make the book your savior. It's just letters on a page pointing you back to the kingdom of heaven within. And when you feel something from the world, whatever you feel from it, just know it's not the world's fault that you feel it. It's your fault, and you need to overcome it. So be glad for it when it happens. Rejoice in the time of tribulation. When Christ had to go to the cross, when they were treating him bad, when the disciples turned on him, and they all did, it seemed. Just think about that. They were all friends with, they loved the man. And then somebody said something, and they scattered because they had the wrong image of him. They had the wrong image. This is why husband and wife relationship don't work. They have the wrong image of one another. They're trying to get something. if they were not trying to get anything from each other, but giving, the marriage would last until death do you part. It really would. But these marriages can hardly last from the church. They get out the door, they're ready to divorce because they want something. You got to make me feel a certain way. You got to say nice things about me. You got to do nice things for me. You got to cook my meal. You got to do this. If a husband gets home and the wife doesn't cook his meal, it shouldn't matter. You have a trifling wife and just know it. But don't hate the trifling wife. The trifling wife got problems. You know what I'm saying? But he'll come home and want to fight. You didn't cook my meal, I'm going to beat you. Instead of showing love. And the wife would get up and make the meal if you had real love. She really would. But if you get mad at her, yell at her, the spirit of the devil going to get mad at and yell too. It's a mess. And while you're fighting, you could have been making and having a good meal. Christ is in us. It's so interesting. He's in us, but you got to let go. All of your imagination, all of your images about yourself. And that's why you hate the person you idolize, because you have created an idol in your mind. I know of people who have told people, don't make me an idol. I just brought you a message. And they make them an idol anyway, and then they turn on them. And they blame them instead of themselves. Even in politics, I see it a lot in politics. And I'm not pushing government, right, but I'm just observing. I'm not telling you who to vote for who you want, don't vote. It's like with Donald Trump, for example. Remember how so many people loved him? At one time, they loved him. Especially when he first ran. They were loving him, wearing the hats and buying the shirts and loving him. And then they find out, oh, he cheated with his wife, or with some woman, right? Or he said something about some medicine or something. And they turned just like that, because they didn't agree with that part. And they don't like the man at all now, because they made him into an idol. And I said, don't make him an idol, just keep a little space so that when you disagree with stuff, it won't be a problem. The things you do agree with, you still can work together. But don't judge, don't make them an idol. And they did. You got to stop doing it. When you overcome, you will. But you got to see and know yourself to know that. You can't even, and don't even try, but you can't convince the Christians that Jesus was not God. That even though he said, I'm the son, I have a father. And when you become my brothers and sisters, what I own, you own it too. Because you will inherit what I own. It's yours because of my father. But they have made them an idol, and you can't break it. They have to want to overcome that. And when they overcome that, they're going to have an amazing relationship with Christ. Because right now, those who believe that Christ is God, he's far out there. They can never be like him, they say. I can never be like God or like Christ. He's too much, he's too big, he's too this. Well, he's just like us. He's so simple. He loved the Father as we should. But they can't believe him because they have made him into more. And he was amazing. He came with a car. He had not done anything wrong. I recognize that. And I appreciate that my big brother obeyed my Father God and came here and saved my soul from the devil. I'm grateful. But I still know he's my brother and not my God. But the people that think that he's God, same way they treat each other. It's all in the mind, though. It's a setup from the devil. It's not real. The devil got your mind in all kinds of ways. I had a nice lady, so she's probably watching, so I have to say nice. A nice lady called my show, and I said that he was a good example, the Great White Hope was a good example of a Christian. And she's like, I have a little problem with that. Well, why? Because he tried to make me take the medication or something. I was like, he didn't try to make you do that. He said, do it if you want, but he said, you got to do it. They can't separate. You got to be able to separate good from evil. What are y'all thinking? Any questions about that? It's going to be an amazing way to live. I promise you that. And you will live here on earth and not be earthy, not be worldly. And yet you'll be able to enjoy the things of the world. Because the things of the world is a gift from God for us. Our bodies is a gift. That's why a lot of people put tattoos on their bodies now. And I understand why. But our bodies is a gift from God, and we should not do it. You know, mess up the temple because it's an amazing gift from God. But they put tattoos on them anyway. And God's not going to bother you about the tattoo. He didn't care. It's a gift. He gave it to you. He said, hey, take care of this gift, right? But, and if we can appreciate this gift, we wouldn't put tattoos on it. But you don't know it's a gift. The ability to speak is a gift from God. But what we do, we cuss each other out. We take a nice gift and use it for evil. We lie because we don't appreciate the gift. Our voice is a gift from God. To have children, to get married is a gift from God. Why not love one another as the Father loves us? But the devil won't let that happen because you believe him over what is right. You've identified with the devil. Amazing, huh? Okay, let me take here first and then here. You can overcome it though, but you gotta, let me just say this and then don't forget. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. So when you say that you are these things other than just being, you bring your death to yourself. You identify with the devil. When you say, I am poor, you're condemning yourself. When you say, I am rich, you're condemning yourself. Because if you ever lose that richness, you want to jump off a bridge. You made that your God. You have made that to be who you are. It is not you at all, and that's where you get your identity from. When you say, I'm a drag queen, you are condemning yourself. You're taking on the identity of a false identity, which is of the devil, and you're going to suffer for it. I don't care how many laws they pass, how many government says it's okay. Inwardly, you're suffering because you have an illusion of you're deluded. You're in a false identity. Life and death. That's why we was talking Thursday about be careful when you say, I am this. Don't say it. It's not you. And just imagine if you never said these things about yourself again, what would you do with yourself? I am black. I am white. I am Chinese. I am. Don't you, when you say I am Chinese, don't you identify with rice or raw fish? Isn't that true? Every time I think of Chinese, I want raw fish and rice. Same thing. I can't tell the difference. Anytime I think of being black, I want candy yams, collard green, macaroni and cheese, because that go with being black.
That's American black. American black. African black's different.
Well, but just think, so stop condemning yourself. You're neither good nor evil. You're neither right nor wrong. You're neither poor nor rich. You're neither black nor white. You're neither male nor female. Stop identifying with it. And you'll have the true identity then. You have a false identity because you are saying it in life and death. You're neither depressed. Because all of those identities are of your father, the devil. They're in the imagination and the physical emotions of the body, they are not of God. They are all false identities from the devil that you worship. Isn't that amazing? You're none of those things. You're neither up or down. You have never created your own suicidal thought. It didn't come from you. When you say, I want to kill myself, that's not you. The devil wants you to kill yourself. He's telling you that. That's not from you. He's pretending to be you. And then you have you saying, oh yeah, I want to kill myself. And the more you say it, the more you want to do it. You can live a life without doing all this stuff to yourself, but you gotta see what's going on within you. All right, life and death is in the power of the tongue. So stop identifying with it. If you gotta say something, you say, I'm not this thing. Those are not my thoughts. Those are not my feelings. And then you bring life because you stop identifying with them. That's not me telling me to kill myself. You can say that, and you bring some life because it's going to destroy this false identity. After a while, you won't have to say that because you will no longer identify with imagination. But stop speaking this stuff into your life. You're in control of your life and don't even know it. And yet, it's not you, it's either the devil or God, but I don't care who else named these things and what they say. Let them say what they want, and don't get mad at them. If they want to identify with these things, you don't need to go out and picket against the LGBTQ people, whatever, because they want to be all that. Let them be that. If they ask you about it, no, that's not who they are. They're worshiping the devil. They've identified with the wrong spirit. Love them enough to tell the truth. And don't accept it as a right, but just know they don't know, they can't see. And they're being used too. They're like the blacks, they're like the whites, they're like the poor, they're like the homeless people are being used. The people don't love the homeless people. They're using them for money. Okay, y'all so quiet.